Hello, everyone. I'm Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspired podcast. And my guest today is Rainey Highley. We had Rainey a while back, and this is a follow-up interview. So Rainey is a lawyer by training, receiving her GED from the University of Texas and her BA in English from Baylor University. Rainey's own journey to authenticity began 20 years ago after graduating from one of the nation's top law schools and embarking on a career as a corporate attorney. With a growing sense of dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and a gut feeling that something wasn't right, Rainey left the practice of law to discover her authentic calling. Inspired by the works of famous authors, lightworkers, and psychics, such as Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Miguel Ruiz, Rainey has become an avid student of metaphysics since 1995 and a skilled interdimensional communicator since 2003. Her work centered around the power of the imagination, identifying innovative thought as fundamental to the expansion of our collective reality and essential for bridging the current human experience to the next era. Rainey believes that it is time for the next generation of spiritual visionaries to step forward. She's the author of Divine Macroverse, The Water Code, Soul Family, and several children's books. Rainey, thank you very much for joining me again.
Thank you, Claudio. It's so nice to be here. And thank you for your beautiful whale background. I love it.
Thank you. You're one of my first guests back in April 2020, like almost 3 years ago. And it seems like totally different lifetime. A lot of things happen in your life, in my life. So we'll go through them slowly. I mean, you publish more books, you travel a lot. How these last 2 years changed you?
Well, I think for me, and I think maybe it might be true for other people too, but it's just been this time of really, the whole pandemic and the whole seeing freedom, really under fire and really not having access to truth. You know what I mean? Like in the media and all these things, it's like, those are my two fundamental, my Divine Macroverse was written about freedom and the Water Code was written about truth. And it's like, those are two things that we really are seeing conflicts in our lives right now. And these are fundamental human rights, fundamental rights that we have as souls. And so it's been, on the one hand, really difficult. And, like we were talking about earlier, like sometimes just saying, I'm done, I can't do this, it's too hard, on the one hand, but on the other hand, seeing that we're making these, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we're making progress. We're continuing to evolve and grow as a society and hopefully making this leap into a more aware, more advanced, more evolved, more compassionate humanity. That's what I hope that this whole pandemic and everything has done for people, is really narrowed down people's vision to say, what am I doing with my life? Is what I'm doing with my life right now going to matter when I'm on my deathbed? And if it's not, scrap it. That's all that matters right now. It's like everything else is just falling away and only the realist of the real remains, kind of, if that makes sense.
Yes, and in fact, in preparation for this interview, I watched our previous interview from April 2020, and it ended with you talking about freedom. And people don't understand how important this concept, a tangible concept, freedom is, because without freedom of moving, without freedom of expressing ourselves, we are nobody. We are just, physical bodies moving left to right, serving other people through work and nothing else. I mean, I realize that there are so many places on earth I would like to travel and bask into, the God's amazing creativity on this earth. And I might not be able to do that looking at what's happening in Canada, in other countries in the world like Australia, New Zealand, we are being stopped from traveling, from our freedom is being cut off right now.
It's such the fundamental right of existence, is freedom. And not having that, I think it causes people to feel like, well, if I don't have freedom, what am I even doing here? I mean, I feel like there's almost like this mass exodus about to happen, because people are just done. They're like, I'm not going to play this game anymore. And, it's just, what it's done for us is it's really put, like you're saying, freedom in the forefront of all of our minds. And I think a real deep understanding of what it means to be free. What that means is freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom to be individuals. And all of these things we're finding are kind of like, wait, we'd never had that freedom before. It's crashing in on us a little. And so this earth experience is, I think we're at a very pivotal point, because it's coming, it feels like it's coming crashing down around us.
Yes, and the misconception on a lot of people is that if they comply with the law, with the government, they will have freedom, without understanding that in fact their freedom, or their concept of freedom, is becoming narrower and narrower every single day when they say yes instead of saying no and pushing back. And it will come to a point where it will be too late for them to understand that they lost everything other than the right of feeding themselves and having potentially a job, if that job will be available to them.
Well, there's one thing I know, and that is, and I feel you're probably this way too, is like, I did not come into this body to be a slave. Like, that was not the plan. So I really, really believe in my heart of hearts, there's something that's going to liberate us from this whole thing. Like, I feel like we're on the precipice of either maybe a mass awakening to, hey, we're trapped in this experiment, and coming to realization about, wait, our freedoms can never be taken from us, ever, can never, on a soul level. So I think we're coming to this point where if enough people wake up, maybe we could crash the system. Maybe we can break this matrix, and so it's exciting, because because the frustration is building within us. And I think it's coming to a point of explosion in some way.
Yes. And, when we talk back in 2020, you're not quite open about the concept of walk-in soul. You are still kind of maybe shy to really put it out there, not to be labeled in any way. So can you please, I think this is the time for you to really come
out. I know. It's well, and it's interesting because it's such a key part of my story. And when I try to explain my story of having an awakening in 2003, it's like, if you really want to go into depth in what happened in 2003, it's this constant peeling of the onion to become more and more authentic, to reveal more and more of who I am. And I think people have, it's kind of this fear of like, am I going to be judged? Am I going to get locked in a padded room? Is it some cellular memory that we have of being burned at the stake as a witch or what have you? So my story was already weird enough, it's like, okay, you channel councils and all this, it's like, now you got to tell people that you had a mature soul exchange. Like, people can't handle that, Rainey, And what happened to me in 2020 and through that whole pandemic stuff was that I just realized I have to be my most authentic self. And being an alien, or whatever you want to call it, and walking into this body, participating in a mature soul exchange is what happened to me. And I just realized, like, Rainey, you've got to come forward and you've got to talk about that, because you're not the only one that this has happened to. There are others out there who are waiting to hear from someone else who's been through this, people who maybe have had some experiences, they're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not the only walk-in on this planet. So it was out of a feeling that there are people who might need to hear my story that caused me to have the courage to come forward and write it down in my book and just, be open about it and start talking about it. So yeah, we had just had that interview and I was still, not ready to come forward with it all. And it was like, boom, it all just came out of me the rest of 2020 as I took the shaman class with Mally and, the Soul Family came through and it just was time to tell the story completely and fully and really stand behind it. So I'm glad that I did. And I appreciate you, asking me about it. It means a lot.
And it's interesting because there is a TV series on Netflix talking about these walking souls. They come with a specific mission and they have their own teams with a leader and they have to prevent certain events, tragic events in the world, on Earth. So these things looks like those people or directors putting together these movies are well aware, without talking about science fiction or fantasy, because in my opinion, so far in the last 2-3 years, science fiction and fantasy caught up with, reality caught up with science fiction and fantasy in terms of technology and different type of phenomena. So in a way it's public, but as usual under the disguise of a movie or a TV series. So we can get accustomed with this type of concept.
Exactly. And I'm glad the concept's coming out. And is it the show where the soul comes in right before the person's about to die and they save them from the death? Okay.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I think it's called Travelers, or I'm not sure. I forgot to look into it, but I think so. Yeah.
No, I love it. And I mean, I think that, that it's becoming more and more relevant right now, especially in this time, because we're in such an intense time for the earth and humanity. You could call it end times. You could call it, whatever you want to call it. It's an intense time. It's unlike any time that's come before us. And because of the intensity of this time, there are souls like myself who participate instead of coming in as an infant, or coming in as a soul being birthed into a human body. We participate in a mature soul exchange. And so on the energetic levels, I agreed to come into this body on my birthday, May of 2003. And I remember vividly waking up and knowing that I was not the same soul that had inhabited the body. Like, it was hard. I didn't know what had happened, but I knew I was like, where am I? What's going on? Kind of thing. And I immediately met my friend, John McMahon, who had also participated in the same sort of soul exchange at the same time. And we just started talking. And here I'd been a lawyer, not really thinking about, anything that metaphysical, to all I wanted to talk about was like spiritual things, metaphysics, philosophy. I just wanted to like scour the bookshelves and see what's out there that connected to this feeling that I had inside that I can only describe as like, when you wake up from a dream and it's so vivid, you could almost taste it. It's like it's so real, but you don't have the memory of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. It's that feeling like I had the energetic taste of the other side. And all I could do was scour every bookshelf looking for something that was a reflection of that. I was trying to bring that reality, into my concept of a world. And at the same time, the benefit of coming in as an adult is that, you don't have all of these years of childhood and societal indoctrination where, you know, you basically unlearn all of your soul memories kind of, you know? And so I was able to come in with that fresh memory of what it was like. And that energy really propelled me into writing books. I mean, John had this beautiful condominium in Marina del Rey that was shaped, it was in a triangle shape, you know, and it was so geometrically powerful right there near the ocean. And we just sat in there and just wrote with ink and paper, notebooks that I still have of everything I could remember, drawings, you know, societies, words, languages. So, and he was remembering all of these technologies. And so it was just this, we felt like we had unlocked the grand unifying theory. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, it's like having this awareness of everything and it all making sense and just really trying to convey that somehow so that it's like writing down your dream in a dream journal. You don't want to forget it. You know, it's right there. You can hold on to it.
Yeah. Beautiful. And based on your experience and John's experience, did you inherit any trauma from the previous souls, that trauma which kind of hinder you in your spiritual development?
That's a great question. You know, yes, I did. You know, I think that's part of coming in is just, you know, you make the soul exchange, but when you come in, the body and the personality that was in here before has already created karma and physical ailments and things. And I had to just come in and start dealing with it. I mean, I came in and immediately started doing Bikram yoga. Like I love hot yoga. I went from never doing yoga to just being a passionate Bikram yoga person. And so there were relationships that I had to resolve, relationship issues that I had to resolve. And then there are physical health issues that I feel like I've just now come through. You know, I had breast cancer and then I went through a double mastectomy, a complete hysterectomy, now to feel like, okay, I've got control over this body. And, you know, I think I've cleared all the karma and now I'm just ready to really do my soul mission. So that's a really profound question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to, you know, identify this type of trauma because we carry those who don't come like you, carry this trauma from previous lives, and we have to clear it through our existence. So in your case was a little bit different. Yes.
It was a little bit like that show, Travelers, in a way, is like all this stuff could have been crashing for a really bad end. And I came in and I did kind of fix some things. You know what I mean? Like things kind of smoothed out, relationships smoothed out. I changed directions in my life big time. So I think there is something to be said for that, but the clearing out trauma takes time, just like it does for anyone, you know? And there's not too much attachment to, did I create this myself or did I inherit it? It doesn't really matter, you know?
Yes. And the meaning of the background is because you have, let's say, an attachment to whales and dolphins, and you had some amazing experiences in certain, some of your travelings. And I really appreciate if you can share with us how you interacted with the whales a while back and how that affected you, you know, spiritually.
I have to say that swimming with the whales, humpback whales in the wild, was hands down by far the most amazing experience in my life. I would say number one. It was incredible. When I first started down my soul mission of starting to write Divine Macroverse, I was contacted by someone in my soul family who I had sent a book to, Benoit, who we ended up connecting. And he's like, you've got to come on this dolphin swimming trip that I'm going on. And I'm like, dolphin swimming trip? I never even thought of it. But I said, okay, I'll go. And that was my first experience with kind of meeting my soul family. We met with Joan Ocean and John-Luc Bozzoli. And it was just this powerful experience with all of these very humble, loving, advanced souls, coming in a very respectful way to swim with and interact with dolphins. We ended up swimming with pilot whales. It ended up being this whole experience. I fell in love with swimming with the dolphins and the whales. And it's so different. Like the dolphins are joyful and playful, and the whales are this wise and majestic. But it was at that time that I was like, I have to swim with dolphins and whales like as much as humanly possible. And I signed up for a trip with Joan Ocean where we went to Tahiti and Rurutu and swam with the whales. That is the first time that I ever looked a humpback whale in the eye. And it was by far the most transformative experience, because it was a moment where time just stopped. And I entered into this other dimension with the whale. And it's beautiful. It's profound. If you've never gone swimming with dolphins and whales in the wild, I highly recommend it. It's life-changing, and the dolphins can sense anything going on in your body and just sonar it, and boom, you're good to go. They're quite the healers. So, it's definitely something that have you done this, Claudiu?
No. And in fact, you are my second guest who I know of, who swam with the whales and dolphins. And my first guest is from France, a woman. That's very interesting. And she jumped off the boat in the middle of the ocean just to be in the proximity of the whale. So it wasn't anything organized. And then wow. the guys on the boat realized that she's gone, and she just jumped in the water, and they had to come back and pick her up in the middle of nowhere. So she's that, eccentric. Mm-hmm. But again, she had an amazing experience, and she never regretted it.
No, it's like, if there's one thing that you want to try, it's just being in the presence of a huge humpback whale. I mean, you think 60 feet long, how big that is. And they're right there, and they're so gentle, and they know exactly where their tail is and where you are. And they're so in control of, not running into you or anything. And it's like, they are high advanced beings. You know what I mean? And I'm just grateful they're here on the planet with us. I hope we can learn from them.
Yes. And we should stop
more advanced than the humans.
Yeah. And we should stop butchering them. And especially dolphins. Yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started. That's like, I can't even think about that.
Yeah. I know you also traveled to Egypt. It was on your to-do list. What was that experience for you?
Oh, Egypt was so amazing. It's like my home away from home. The people, first off, the Egyptian people are just wonderful, lovely, welcoming people who were embraced us wherever we went. And, I feel like it's so funny because the whole Egyptian government has this, fake news about the pyramids, that's the only thing you can hear when you go in the pyramids. So all of the people who are tour guides have to give the official version of whatever the government says. So anyway, when we went in, I was like, I don't want to hear what anyone's saying. I don't want to listen to this. I just want to be in my zone with the pyramids and the structures. And, I came away from Egypt feeling like 100% Earth has been way more advanced than we are now, like light years more advanced than we are now. Humanity left these pyramids too us to hopefully learn something from. I mean, all these inscriptions and all of the information contained in there and everything that they designed, it was all to tell us something. And we walk in there and we're so clueless. You know what I mean? It was like all this information just didn't jot what they were, the government saying. I'm like, no, that doesn't seem right. Like in my heart, I felt the power of what was left behind. And I was so blown away by how much of it had been like attempted to be defaced, you know, like through the years they defaced it or they redid the etchings and to find something that hadn't been touched, that hadn't been ruined, you know, that was really powerful. So we got to meditate in the Great Pyramid by ourselves in the chamber. I was there with Dr. Beckwith, Michael Beckwith, and a group, and it was beautiful and life-changing. And there's a sarcophagus in that chamber, and we were the only ones in the chamber, and no one was in the sarcophagus. And I was like, well, I'm going to go lay down in it just for a minute. And I laid down in it, and one of the guards came over to say, oh, you can't be in this, you know, one of the Egyptian guards. And he was yelling and I heard all this stuff going on. And then I got up and he just was silent and I walked off and he never said anything. And I was like, something happened in that sarcophagus. Like it was this transformative chamber, you know? And I came out and I felt like there was no negativity or anything. He just had to go away and everything flowed. So it was like magical moments of things happening one on top of the other. I wish I could go back there every single year. Like it's just a beautiful place, a powerful place, and a really important, significant place spiritually for the planet.
Yes, I mean, even recently I realized that when I visit these energy powerful places, I should be able to feel the energies. And I kind of made a pact with myself that I should go only if I feel that I am spiritually evolved in a way that I will be able to feel the energy, and I'm not going there just as a tourist, but
Right.
to a person who will be able to sense history and sense what happened in those places. And kind of I'm working on myself to get to that level, because there are so many interesting locations on Earth, and you know, like Sedona, which where you live, that they have a lot of it has a lot of vortices, and you have Peru, you have Egypt, a lot of places in South America. So we really have to go to these places with reverence and with a desire to feel it, not just taking pictures as tourists.
Well, and with a desire to almost leave behind everything we've been told about things. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've been told so many things that aren't true that I mean, it's so imperative. And I would just say this to anyone watching this right now, for people to really be in touch with their intuition, because it's our truth meter. You know, it's what lives inside of us to tell us when something's true or not. And, you know, there's so much of history. It's like, I don't want to hear what anybody's story is about history. You know, I just want to feel it myself. And I get more from closing my eyes and talking to my guides than I do from the news or anything that I'm going to read.
Yes, and even, I mean, today I read something about the origin of the word kidnapping or kidnapper.
Okay.
And in fact, it's so disturbing what its origin is that I don't want to mention it here, but those who are interested, they should go into the etymology of this word, and you'll see where it will lead you, what disturbing part of the Western history, especially UK history, will lead you to. And then if your eyes will open up and your curiosity will be irked, then you can go down the rabbit hole, as they say, to find out more. Because this type of, or this side of history is not too much promoted out there, because doesn't serve a specific narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow, that's fascinating. I'll definitely look that up. There's so much going on that, you know, it's just like, I don't like, it's not a good feeling to feel like, you know, we're given limited information, or it's just, I don't like to feel that my knowledge and understanding is all based on what someone's telling me. You know what I mean? And that was like one thing that was really powerful to me when I first kind of had that walk-in experience in 2003, is like, I couldn't find anything that seemed legitimate. Like everything, I was like, this doesn't seem real. And I was going to, you know, the bookstores, and I would look for the metaphysics section, and I would pick up every single book, and I'd feel it. No, yeah, something's in here. Do you know what I mean? And I would try to like piece together truth, because it was not easily had. And so I think there's something really powerful to coming into our own authentic understanding of what truth is and where truth comes from, you know, and, you know, the idea that it comes from the water within us, I think is pretty powerful too.
Yes. I would like to talk a little bit more about your latest book, Soul Family, which is a fascinating book. And I encourage everyone to read. I had the honor to write a review for the book as well. And before going deeper into certain Soul Family branches, give us a quick overview, please.
So, well, basically the book is kind of a little journey through how I discovered that we are all part of this bigger soul family. And it's my collection of my story of how I met different people from my soul family and different tribes of the soul family. And what I discovered is there are 9 different tribes of a larger cosmic soul family. So like, when you pass on from this life, where are you going back to? Where's your soul from? And that's what I explored in this book.
Yes, and what fascinated me, the tribes, in fact, that I was attracted to, are the galactic shamans, cosmic cetaceans, and light dragons. Would you go a little bit deeper into these 3, please?
Oh, that's powerful. Well, I mean, you know, the cosmic cetaceans, I'll talk about them first because I'm one. That's one of my soul tribes. And just to let people know who, if they don't know what we're talking about, I have a free quiz online that's called findmysoultribe.com. And you can go and take the quiz, and it'll tell you your top 2 matches of all the 9 tribes. What are the 2 matches? So you're mentioning the cosmic cetaceans. Those are people who are going to be naturally drawn to swimming with dolphins, swimming with whales, people who have to live by the water. You know, there are people who could never live in Sedona because it's not near the water. But, you know, the cosmic cetaceans are going to be the people who are drinking harmonized water, putting crystals in their water, you know, talking to their water. So it's the connection with the cetaceans is they're really Earth's record keepers. You know, they've been the gatekeepers to all of these ancient records that are being revealed to us now, ancient truths. So it's a really powerful tribe to be associated with. And you definitely would know that you would have a love for the dolphins or the whales, or at least an interest in it. And then you said something before, like, galactic shamans. Galactic shamans, that's a really amazing group, and one I became intricately familiar with doing these seminars with Mally, because she's the galactic shaman. And these are people who, like the shamans of the earth, know what directions and everything to put together to make things happen on the earth. Well, galactic shamans know, well, we've got to pull this in and pull this together to make big things happen, big changes. They know how energy moves from a galactic perspective. And so these are people who are going to, you know, have stones buried around their house and have a labyrinth or a medicine wheel or something that's going to connect you to the earth. People are very into creating ceremony to manifest change in this reality. So that's a powerful thing. It's kind of like a energy worker of the macroverse. And then light dragons, and I'm just jumping into this. I love this combination though. Light dragons, that is of all the 9 tribes, the rarest of any of them. I've only met a handful of light dragons in my entire life. And John McMahon is a light dragon, one of them. And he has such powerful energy. And I could definitely see that connection with you too, because light dragons have a really important purpose on this earth. And in fact, some people would say they're responsible for seeding the earth. And the light dragons have so much power that the biggest thing they're working with in their life is really how do they harness that power in a way that doesn't scare people, that other people can accept and receive, because it's a lot of energy. So it's channeling it into things that people can absorb and accept.
So in other words,
there is a lot of loneliness out there for people who are light dragons, because you don't have a lot of them. And so they can often just feel alone, like, hey, I'm the only light dragon out here. It's not true. There's others, but it is a more lonely path.
Yeah. So in other words, they are creators against the regular thinking that they are destroyers, they are breathing fire, and we should be afraid of them. We should embrace, in fact, their energies.
Thank you so much for saying that, and I think that goes to the fact that so much in this world, the earth experience is so upside down, like 13 is a bad number when it's really a great number, and dragons are bad when they're really amazing. So, that's something that came to me in Divine Macroverse, was like, dragons are not at all these like reptilian fire breathing monsters. They're these beautiful, amazing, iridescent, like the size of the earth kind of a being. You know what I mean? That kind of a dragon that can swim and fly and create worlds. And it's almost like the idea of a dragon has been, I want to say it's been manipulated in a negative way, to take the power away from the dragon, just similar to the way it's happened for women a lot too, and it's like you take the most powerful thing and make it weak.
Exactly. And it looks like a pattern. Whatever can benefit humanity is being twisted. Mm-hmm. So the perception goes against that particular concept, power, personality. So we stay away and live in fear.
Exactly. So true. So it's like, those are the things I kind of get interested in. I'm like, what am I told I'm not supposed to be interested in? Because those are the things that will probably be the juiciest.
And in fact, my first guest on this podcast, Frederick Lerman, he has an affinity for dragons. And every time we meet, he drops a story about dragons, how he saw an etherical dragon during a Qigong session, or with his master. So he sees dragons almost everywhere, based on his personality, based on his experience and spiritual development. He sees these entities now and then, and he was kind enough to share some with me in private.
Wow, that's powerful. I wonder if he's a light dragon.
I will ask him to do the test. I'll meet him tonight, and I'll ask him to do the test.
Okay.
How one can, you mentioned that if one wants to identify his or her own soul tribe, they can go to that website and take the quiz.
The website is www.findmysoultribe.com. And it's, give yourself like 15-20 minutes to really sit with the quiz. It's kind of extensive, but don't overthink it. Answer with your gut, because that's where you're going to get the best answers. And the results will tell you a little bit about the two tribes that you relate to. And if you want to know more, you can check out Soul Family. But it's really useful for people who are feeling alone on their spiritual path, because like for me, I felt so alone on my path writing Divine Macroverse. And then I met the Cosmic Cetacean group, and it was like, it gave me so much more energy for life to connect with them. I was like, these are my light and fun. And I mean, like everyone was laughing the whole time and giggling. And I was like, they were my people, you know, they were light. They were like dolphins. And so I think it's really important, because people are going to say, you know what, I know now why I really connect with that person, or maybe why I don't connect as much with this person. And it gives you some sort of understanding as to what's going on and why that's happening and why those connections are or aren't happening.
Yes, and to summarize it, in fact, if we all understand our purpose or what family or tribe we belong to, life will be much more fulfilling. We will be able to really enjoy it without worrying about insignificant things. And that's why, again, I'm repeating myself, we have to pursue a spiritual development. Has nothing to do with religion. It's about who we really are, in order to live that fulfilled life, and with our family, with our friends. But we'll have a different perspective of life if we understand its meaning and our own purpose.
It's almost like, what is the value of life if you did not have any spiritual journey? Do you know what I mean? It seems like you kind of missed it. You're going to have to come back and do it again. I mean, that is the essence of this life experience from my perspective, is the spiritual journey. And for me, courage to walk that path as authentically as possible, so that other people can, because like at the end of the day, is it going to matter how much money you made, or what car you drove, or any of what job you had? None of that's going to matter. You won't even think of it again. But when you're sitting on your deathbed, or lying on it, you're going to go, you know what? Did I do what I came here to do? Right? To me, that's huge. That's everything. And living a life not connected to your soul mission is almost like, why are you living? That's in my mind. It's like, that's the only thing that matters, the most important thing. And, you know, even with my mom passing, that was such a spiritual experience for me, because she passed in 2018, and, you know, she came through so clearly and talked to me about what the other side was like. And right before she died, I was like, Mom, okay, you know that I can channel, I can talk. You're about to go to the other side. We knew she was going. I was like, you have to promise me you're going to come and tell me everything you can tell me. I promise. She's like, I promise. I had witnesses, my aunt, like she promised. And boom, as soon as she passed, she came right to me, and I wrote and wrote and wrote everything that she said. And it's just the thing that she said is like, she wishes she would have not had negative feelings towards people when she died. She wishes she would have resolved all of that prior to dying. And it really gave me another sort of like more fuel to know that the most important thing is following your soul mission, but doing what you came here to do. And so anyway, I hope that anyone who reads the book or takes the quiz will say, what am I here on this earth to do? Like, what is it that that's like my special talent? What is it that is my special gift that I can contribute to feel like I gave part of my soul? I contributed part of who I am on a deep basis to the earth. And I affected it in a positive way somehow. That's the goal, right?
Yes, and you mentioned the rich guys, lying on their deathbed, and we heard stories when they said, "I will give up everything for another day on this earth, for a week or for a month, just for them to go back maybe to the basics of life and enjoy something that they didn't have the time to enjoy, regardless of how much wealth they had."
Right. And you just like, you see, even when you look at ants and you see them all going around so fast, it's like, we're just like ants. We're just running here and there and going. And it's like, what are we doing? Stop. Let's just stop. And let's talk only about the things that really, really matter. And man, like, let's connect with people who are part of our soul family so that we're in that space of things that really matter all the time, and that's why it's nice to connect with you, because you're part of my soul family too. And it just feels so good to know of all the things you're doing to help the planet and to raise awareness, for anyone watching the show or anyone who reads your books.
Thank you. And I mentioned earlier about movies giving us a hint about reality, pretty much, or what's coming. And I recently rewatched Jupiter Ascending, and I watched it with a different eye this time. And it's about this girl from a Russian family, which can barely wakes up in the morning, is part of the, her family cleans up homes. So she pretty much does the bathrooms, clean up the toilets, and she hates her life. And then she has a very transformative experience where she is being kidnapped because she is the former queen, which came reincarnated in a human body. And she has to claim Earth as her own inheritance. And when she understands what's going on Earth and how important Earth is for the whole universe, she doesn't make any claim that Earth is hers, but understands the meaning of life and what she can do for Earth. Then she's the first one to wake up in the morning. She's the first one not to complain about her life. She's the first one to finish scrubbing the toilets, because now she has a much more powerful and meaningful life overall. That scrubbing the toilet activity is nothing compared to what she can do behind the scene to help her human fellows. So that's a very powerful message if you don't look at the movie from just an entertainment perspective.
I love that, just having one movie, when you're mentioning movies, one movie that comes to mind, have you seen that movie, Bliss? It's an Amazon movie, and it's got like Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson in it.
Yes.
It's not like going to win an Academy Award or anything. It's not like one of those movies, but it's a great movie where, Salma Hayek's like a homeless lady and Owen Wilson has this terrible job, and he's like, they're kind of miserable, and they meet in a bar, and he's like, man, she's like, come see my homeless area. And he's like, you're just this homeless lady. And anyway, he's like, this is like, he really believed what he was seeing. And she said, no, I want you to see reality. And she has these little crystals, they put them in their nose and they wake up. And the reason I mentioned this movie, Claudiu, is because it was like, there's so few movies that actually have a positive spin, on the future or what could be. And this one did. So they wake up from this awful world, and it's like beautiful sunlight coming in and rainbows. And it's, Dr. such and such and Dr. such and such. And they're wearing beautiful clothes. And it's like, they have a gorgeous home overlooking the water and everything's perfect. And he's like, wait, what just happened? And basically she created this game so that you would appreciate reality more. So he had been in the game, and he's like, it works. I appreciate this. I never want to go back to the game. But what it seemed to me was like, my mom kind of said when I was watching it, she's like, that's kind of what it's like. It's like when you die, you just take off your virtual reality mask or whatever you want to call it, and you're out of the game now. You know what I mean? You're back in reality. So I don't know. In some ways, I think these movies are opening us, you know, it's slowly opening us to a point where we are maybe going to be able to break out of the system, you know, which is exciting.
Yes. Rainey, how much quantum manifestation is part of your life these days?
Wow. You know, I mean, I'd like to say a lot. I remember like not even knowing what the word quantum meant when I was writing water code. I'm like, quantum, it kind of means small, I guess, you know, but just really understanding that it's so important to have that balance of the inner worlds in addition to the outer worlds. So the microverse and the macroverse, states of being and non-being. So I love working on the quantum planes, the quantum realms, because I think that's where everything starts. You know, anything physical begins from the quantum. So, you know, just to bring this back to reality for people, okay? Like, it's kind of like when you start an exercise regimen and you start working out, and you're working out really hard and you're doing all this stuff and you've done all the work, but you don't see any results yet. You know, it's like that. It doesn't mean you didn't do anything. It just meant what you're doing is starting to work on the quantum levels before it comes and manifests itself physically. Yeah. So it's just remembering that that's where things are happening before they come into something we can see, touch, hold, you know.
Yes, and we have to be very organized or sustaining this type of quantum manifestation in order for the manifestation to happen. We can't just give up 2 days later or 3 days later. It has to be sustained by effort and feeling, especially by feeling.
And it's the key. It's like when you're starting to say the affirmations, like, you know, I am a successful writer, whatever you want your affirmation to be, you can't say, well, I don't believe that, you know, I'm giving up. That's not true. You got to keep saying it and believing it. And then it happens, because it all is working on those quantum levels before it's manifesting. So that's precisely the point where we want to give up, you know, that we have to just go deeper and believe more.
Yes. Rainey, how much your programs have changed over the last 2 years?
They've changed quite a bit. You know, my offerings as far as coaching programs, you know, I was doing a lot of individual, and then I started offering more kind of day programs for coaching. I decided I wanted to make myself available for what people needed. So I have some online programs that people can do without me being involved at all. So I wanted that to happen. I've got a website, watercodewisdom.com, where people can get certified like in the 13 chakras, or, you know, they can download a meditation of the 13 chakras and stuff like that. So my programs are becoming a little more hands-off, but at the same time, I want to always make myself available to people who are in need. Like, I mean, I know what it felt like to say, like, I feel like I'm alone on my spiritual journey and I don't have anyone telling me anything other than be quiet, don't talk about it, it's too weird, you know? And so to have somebody out there that you can just, who can reflect back at something that's positive and helpful, you know, that's so meaningful to me. And it's so fulfilling to do that in my life. So when people come to me and need assistance, I do make myself available. I do love helping people, you know, and so my programs, I think, are becoming both at the one hand more hands off, and at the other hand, I do want to just always make myself available so for people in need. Because, you know, I think about like when I first started, the people who influenced me, like I would have just like what it would have meant to me to have them just say something or guide me or anything, like it would have helped so much. And so I want to make sure that I'm available for people and they don't feel like I blew them off. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So everyone check Rainey's programs on the websites she mentioned, and please reach out to her. Rainey, we are approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
Well, I just think it'll be interesting to see where we're at 2 years from now. You know, it's like, okay, 2020, 22, let's see where we are in 24, and hopefully we'll be out of this whole mess. You know, from a world perspective and in this whole new liberated reality, you know. But my final thoughts would just be for anyone out there who's felt kind of the pressure of life and duty and obligation pressing down on you, and feeling that you're just like running on a hamster wheel and you don't know how to get off. I would just say there's always a way off, and there's always a way to find your soul mission and your most authentic path. And I just want to give everyone that confidence that, you know, they have a soul mission, and it's easy to find, and their life is going to be much more fulfilling once they're on their soul mission, if they're not already. That's kind of the thing you want to do when you're on your deathbed, is like, did I fulfill my soul mission? Did I do what I came to earth to do? And so I would just encourage people to think about that, ask themselves that question, so that they have the opportunity to do that before their time comes.
Rainey, thank you very much for your message. Thank you for your time today. All the best, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to talking with you again.
And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Share it, like it. Visit my website and download a free copy of my book. Support me on patreon.com/Claudiu Murgan. And until next time, love and gratitude.